So the second P in the marketing mix is price. Price is defined as the value placed on goods or services that are being exchanged. Price factors include things like the cost of making the product if you are a manufacturer or buying it for resale if you are a third party. You always want to look at the break even point, and that's the point at which your total revenues, so the total quantity of items you're selling times its price, is going to equal the total expenses. So, whatever it costs you has to be taken into consideration when you determine what you are going to price your product at. Pause this video for a second, click on the link for the video attached for break even point, and then come back and we'll keep talking. So now that you've learned more about break-even point, let's look at some of the other price factors. You have to think about what your marketing expenses might be. So one of those other P's is promotion, and that's all about communicating to the consumer. How much are you going to spend in order to communicate your product to the consumers so they are interested in purchasing it? You also have to think about what the competition is pricing their product at. Sometimes you want to have a higher price because may it might make your consumers think your product is a higher quality. Other times you might be marketing on the idea that you are a lower price. So you have to know what the competition is selling for as well as what their product features are before you can determine an accurate price for your own product. And then the last consideration here is really what is the consumer willing to pay for your product, and also what are they able to pay? That's tied to what's called discretionary income. And that's just the amount of money that someone has left over after they pay for all of their necessities. They have to have enough discretionary income to purchase your product if it's not a necessity. And the other thing is what they're giving up when they buy your product or service over something else. So, what's the opportunity cost? What are they giving up? You have to make sure your product is worth everything they might have to give up. The next P is place, and it's also called the distribution channel. Distribution channel is the path a product takes from the producer to the consumer. So it's every location and every method of transporting that product or service from where it originates into the customer's hands. If you're a direct distributor, you have goods and services that are being sold directly from the producer directly to that consumer. Indirect distribution is when it goes through an intermediary or a third party company, similar to a retail store. Dick's does not manufacture their clothing, their Nike clothing, but they sell Nike clothing. So they are an indirect distributor for Nike. Some of the distribution factors are things you need to consider when you're making your marketing plan is how and where does your target market actually shop? Do they go to brick and mortar stores or do they shop online? And if they go to stores, what stores do they go to? What time of day or what day of the week do they prefer to shop? Do they prefer indirect or direct sales? And how are you best equipped? And your distribution channel is going to affect your pricing because if you're having to ship product from a far distance, it's going to cost you more. So you have to take that in consideration as well. And then finally, our fourth P is promotion. Sales promotion, as I said, is any form of communication that's used to persuade potential customers to buy your product. That could be through advertising, publicity, personal selling, or promotions themselves. There are several promotional factors you have to consider. What is your media? Meaning, how are you going to reach your consumers? And what's your message? What are you trying to say to them? What are you trying to tell them about your product? What are you trying to persuade them to believe? One of the ways that many companies use promotion is through endorsements. And endorsements are approvals or support being given to a product or an idea by using a celebrity image. Nike's huge on endorsements. So just think about it. Have you ever purchased a product just because of an endorsement? And think about what some of the negatives might be with endorsements.